Hello, this is Mish, and welcome to Twin Peaks Season 3, Episode 14 Recap Review. So going forward, this will contain spoilers, so be warned. I found this episode to be really intriguing. It had many answers, but also many questions again. It really contained 5 story arcs, so I'll cover them one at a time, then give a couple thoughts around each topic and situation that occur. Just trying to make some sense out of them. And once again, we have many questions answered, but also many gaps left to fill in. So let's start with the opening scene, which is centric to the FBI agents. So we see Gordon Cole ringing Twin Peaks. So he speaks with Sheriff Frank Truman. Frank informs him of the missing pages that they found around Laura's diary and how this indicates to there being 2 Agent Coopers. So then moving on to Albert, and he seems to be briefing Tammy on the initial case of the Blue Rose. So very cool and interesting information regards that. So just a quick recap of that. So 1975, the agents that were involved with this was Gordon Cole and Philip Jeffries. So what occurred is they went to see Louise Duffy, I believe, and there was a gunshot. So they went into the room and Louise Duffy was dying on the floor with a gunshot wound. As she died, she said, "I'm like the Blue Rose." Then she died and disappeared. So the other person that actually shot her was Louise Duffy, but eventually hangs herself before the trial, I believe. So Albert mentions, what do you take from this situation? And Tammy has some great points around the Blue Rose doesn't occur in nature. It's not natural. Is it a tulpa? So I thought it was pretty cool. My takeaway from this was the reference to how when she shot and died, she disappeared. So she may have been wearing a ring and she may have been a doppelganger. So we had Louise Duffy had a doppelganger. So was she the doppelganger or the original? But she's been returned to the lodge where she has come from. And I guess that's how I interpret that case number 1. So then we see that Diane joins the meeting, and we have questions raised about the last time she saw Agent Cooper, and did he mention Garland Briggs? She said he did. And then we move on to the ring, which has been found in Garland Briggs' stomach. So to Dougie with love from Janie E. Now this is very, very, very interesting how Diane mentions she has an estranged half-sister who is Janie. Her nickname is Janie, and her husband's nickname is Dougie, and it's Douglas Jones. So a very, the parallel there is very interesting, I found. But I also really enjoyed the scene where they rung the Las Vegas FBI office. Such a bizarre, comical scene where they're saying, "How are we going to find Douglas Jones?" And then the other agent lost it. I thought it was quite amusing. I quite like that. Now, probably the final part of this scene was Gordon Cole's dream, and how I really liked that line where he says, "We are like the dreamer who dreams, who lives inside the dream, but who is the dreamer?" Now, for me, that's a reference to consciousness around where does consciousness come from. But that's a big topic. But for me, I really like that idea of what that was about. And also the reference to the old seasons and the old movies around Philip Jeffries saying, "Who do you think that is there?" So pointing to Cooper, Philip Jeffries must have seen the doppelganger or something like that. And this was a reference to that, question this person. So that was pretty cool. The links for the FBI agents now are all joining together. So we've got massive steps in this episode alone. So we're already linking Twin Peaks, the doppelganger. So they're saying in Twin Peaks there's 2 Agent Coopers. So that's very interesting and very cool. And then we have Diane's revelation around the ring, so which points the FBI agents also to Las Vegas and to Dougie. So hopefully from that they will find Dougie, who isn't Dougie, it's actually Agent Cooper. And this is all starting to fall into place. So very interesting. I can't wait for the next episode to find out what occurs with these guys. But yeah, once again with Diane, very interesting parallel to her saying, her half-sister is married to Dougie Jones. Now that's strange because, we've got Diane who is in a relationship with the original Coop and also the doppelganger Coop, but also her half-sister is in a relationship with Cooper now, who was the stand-in for Cooper, so Dougie Jones. So very interesting parallel. I thought that was quite fascinating. Now, I guess another point here I just want to quickly mention around Diane and her motives. I don't understand her motives. Why she said anything about Las Vegas, why she said anything about Dougie and Janie E. because she seems to be in cahoots with the doppelganger. We've seen that multiple times with the text messages back and forth, sending information that she shouldn't. But all of a sudden she gives this massive information away, this massive plot line away, that they need to go find Dougie Jones. Here's the person, this is who you need to find. Then you'll find Agent Coop, and the lines are all joining together. I don't understand where she's coming from. Maybe she's not in full control of herself, but what's your interpretation on that? I thought that was pretty strange, her behavior. Okay, so over to Twin Peaks. So this was, once again, interesting. I really liked this part. So we see straight off, Chad has been arrested. So he's been under the eye of everyone else there for a while, which makes sense because of their attitude towards him. We've seen many suspicious looks and questioning what he's doing, so that was cool to see. What I will say about Twin Peaks in general is how it combines the mundane tasks of day-to-day life with the most bizarre, crazy scenes. It really does add something extra to this TV show, I think. Just around this scene, we've just arrested some dodgy police officer here. And also, we're going off into the forest to find a magical location that hopefully has a vortex or something mysterious. But FYI, here is your cheese sandwich. I just really enjoy that component. And I think it really adds something to this TV show when there's weird scenes like that included in it. And this obsession with coffee, I think it's pretty funny. Anyway, so we see them, Sheriff and his other employees, head off to the mountains. So they reach the location. And at their location, they encounter a lady with her eyes sewed shut. And a vortex as well. So the lady with the eyes sewed shut, we have seen her before. She was in episode 3. She's the person that helped Agent Coop return. So she helped him traverse whatever that is, traverse reality or traverse to another universe or whatever you want to call it. But in the process, it looked like she was exploded off the aerial and sent off into oblivion. But it looks like she has returned. Whether she's returned now or she's been here for a while, it's hard because there's going to be, I've got the suggestion many times that there's a time difference between these worlds, and I guess that's probably the situation here. She could have been floating off in this in the abyss for a long time. So we see Andy get taken into the vortex, and he meets the giant, or as he calls himself here, the fireman. We see this story detailed out to Andy around Laura Palmer. If you see that picture of her, it's very angelic. You see the angels to the side of her. The birth of Bob. Agent Cooper's doppelganger and Agent Cooper, so the two Coopers. And it was good to see an overview there for him, so hopefully he's going to use that information going forward. There was more that he got that we saw, which is interesting because the information around this new character with her eyes sewed shut, he's got the message. And it was really cool to see as well that this character, who is always uncertain of himself, he's always kind of, I don't want to say he's a bumbling idiot, but Andy has never been the character that you think is, you never have confidence in him. But for me at this point here, all of a sudden he's so concise, he has so much confidence. It's really out of character, but it was cool to see because it makes sense. He's almost in a possessed state with all this information he has. I just wonder what other information he has for us. Interesting too, the other characters can't remember what has occurred, but obviously Andy has. So we see Andy lock this new person in the prison to keep her safe. It's a really good idea with Chad in the prison and this drunk as well, who's making those bird noises, who seems to be possessed. So I don't know if that was such a good idea, but it's happened now anyway. All in all, I really did like the trip into the forest. I thought that was pretty cool. But more questions raised from that. Around this new character that's turned up and what the purpose is for her. We know she has helped Agent Coop before, but what is she going to do now? She seems to struggle communicating, but let's see where this is going to go. Okay, now on to another new character. So this was working with James, and it is Freddy. This character, it was a full reveal straight away. So a very different scene from, one character which we know nothing about really, to another character who we know nothing about, but then details his whole story out, which was cool. Very different scenes, but they both worked very well, I found. So we see this new character. He has a super powerful hand given to him by the Giant, and he's been told to go to Twin Peaks to fulfill his destiny. So he details this all out to James. They seem to be working together as security, looking after a couple of locations there. So just a basic breakdown of Freddy's story. So he was in London. He found a vortex. This was 6 months ago. He met the fireman. Once again, she meets the Giant. We've got him saying, Get the glove, put it on, and you'll have the power of a power driver. So he got the glove, and then he's now gone to Twin Peaks to fulfill his destiny. So great scene. Really good to see James actually getting a story component, which is what I guess I'll mention it a bit more later. But it's good to see these older characters actually getting some meat to their story to actually work with, and this was, I found, good for James. So this new character, my gut feeling straight away is that he is a weapon created to incapacitate the doppelganger, to get the doppelganger back to the lodge. What are your thoughts on that? Is that your gut feeling as well? Straight away, that was my thought. Okay, now next we see Sarah Palmer go for a drink, go to the pub. So this scene leaves more questions. This is probably one of the main questions I come away with from this episode. So we see Sarah take her face off, and she kills the trucker at the pub, or the drunk guy, whatever you want to call him. What is your interpretation of that? For me, it's a reflection that she has been taken over by an evil entity, or the Black Lodge as opposed to the White Lodge. Good and evil fight here. Is she in control at all? I thought she was at parts. It seems to be flicking between being in control and not. So we have seen that before with her losing control, seems to lose it. I don't know where she's going to go after this, how much more she's going to have. Is she going to become a main evil driving force within this show going forward? That would be the suggestion here. Obviously very, very powerful as well, being able to bite the guy's neck off like that, which was very quickly done and very precise and deadly, obviously. Now, what I was saying before about James, how getting some more meat in the story, I have mentioned it a few times. So it's just really good to see these characters getting meaningful scenes. Now, I've mentioned this previously a couple of times, with the last 2 episodes especially, found that these old characters are getting scenes, but they're not meaningful. I mean, sure, you can pick up little suggestions here and there, but for the most part, their scenes seem to be more as a token gesture to them. With this episode especially, and a few others at the start of the season, they have some really good, interesting scenes. And now it's really good to see at least Sarah and James here getting some really good scenes. So I hope that they're going to utilize these characters more, because these are really good characters and some really good acting as well. So it's going to be cool if they keep going with that. I was just a little disappointed in the last 2 episodes prior to this one, that's all. When I've mentioned this before, it's not so much so negative. It's more, I know what these characters could do, and I know they have so much potential, I guess, is more what annoyed me previously. But really good to see these characters both utilized here very well as well, I thought. So pretty happy about that. Okay, now on to probably the last bit we need to talk about, which is the scene at the bar. So we get 2 ladies, we don't really know who they are, but we later find out one of them is Tina's daughter. So this is all about Billy and his whereabouts. And so this relates to Audrey and Charlie. So Audrey and Charlie are still, I believe, looking for Billy. We're not really sure where they went with this episode, but when we get more information around Billy, it's still very mysterious, this character, and what has occurred here. But there's definitely something sinister going on, because we hear the story about Billy running in. His face is dripping with blood. He looks at the characters there, then he runs off. We learn that Billy is in a relationship with Tina, which I think is what Audrey suggested as well. But the interesting part about this scene is when the 2 characters speak about this, when she confesses that Tina is her mother, the music turns very dark and sinister, but I don't understand why. there's still many questions around these characters and where they're going and what Audrey's doing as well. So fascinated to find out what happens. So excited about where these are going as well. And I guess this adds more information for Audrey. And that was another character I was a little bit disappointed in. I mean, Audrey's contribution so far has not been a lot, and it's been very mysterious and very vague. But the more we learn, I guess, the better it is. And it is pretty exciting. So hopefully she gets more next few episodes as well. So all in all, I thought it was a great episode. Definitely on the way up from the last two. Answered a lot of questions, joined a lot of dots, but also with Twin Peaks we've got a lot more mystery we've got to try and figure out, and that's all the fun. But anyway, I'll leave this episode here because I've gone on for quite some time now. My voice has held up, hooray! But yeah, so I'll leave this episode here. If you like it, thumbs up, and subscribe for future content from me, and leave comments and feedback below. I always appreciate that stuff, and I'll read as much as I can. So until next time, this is Mesh, and I'll see you later, and thanks for listening.